Okay, hi, hello, welcome to this very cozy, probably incredibly uncut video. For those of you who haven't been here before, hi, my name's Lena. I usually make videos about books and the climate and different ways to wear secondhand outfits, that kind of jazz. But today I'm doing one of my most highly requested videos that literally has nothing to do with what I talk about on my channel, and I'm not an expert in. But it is PCOS Awareness Month this September, and I decided that it's been a very long time since I talked about my experience with PCOS, what PCOS even is, and to answer so many of those questions. So I asked for some of your questions on Instagram, and I also collated some of my frequently asked questions whenever I mention my PCOS in passing or people pick up on it. And I wanted to just have a little chat, cover all of those bases. I am going to try and I will obviously have to touch on some of the medical implications of PCOS, but I don't know if you also have this experience, but when you are actually like experiencing an illness, I don't really like reading up on it that much because it's bloody depressing, and I feel like a lot of the information changes a lot, so I'm only going to be referencing information about PCOS that I have heard from multiple trusted sources, and I'm going to link as much as I can below. But I'm also, this isn't medical advice. You shouldn't listen to me. Anything that I say, you should definitely check with somebody who is qualified, preferably your GP. And I'm more going to be talking about my experiences and answering some more questions on the more nuanced end of PCOS. So this is hopefully going to be your hub video. I don't know how long it's going to be. It could be a while, but it's just going to be a cozy little chat about something that affects a lot of bloody people. And I'm going to be trying as well as much as possible to use gender neutral language when I talk about PCOS, because obviously I understand that not everybody who experiences PCOS is a cis woman. And if I slip up at that, I'm really sorry. I will put it on screen. I'll let you know. But that is something that I am working on. So yeah, I realise that I do actually have quite a lot to say on this topic. She says, so I've made quite a lot of notes. Let's see what we can go through. And I'm not going to promise that this is going to be in any way entertaining, or I'm not going to be like as animated as I usually am in videos, mainly because I know it's a topic that makes me panic a lot, and it's something that I've just experienced a lot of like up and downs with it. So I don't want to make a very like pow, 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 like, I don't know, like explosive video, because I know that as somebody with PCOS, those kind of videos don't help me. I need like a calming video about it, hearing about somebody's experience, without it having all the usual ramshackle dazzle animations of my usual stuff. So if you're here for that and a cozy chat, please get a nice warm fuzzy drink. Fuzzy drink might indicate that it's gone bad, so maybe not a fuzzy drink, but you know what I mean. Grab yourself something cozy to sit in, and we shall begin. So first of all, the first question that I got on Instagram, which is fine, presumably for those of you who are watching who do not have PCOS or know much about it, what is PCOS? Well, PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, which is slightly misleading because you don't actually have to have polycystic ovaries to experience it. It is a chronic incurable illness, which again makes it sound like really serious, and it is for some people really serious, and for me, I've had quite extreme versions of it, and it's genetic, so it doesn't have anything to do with your lifestyle or anything that you've done. And I think that's, again, a lot of things to do with people experiencing PCOS, is they feel like it's their fault or they've made it worse or anything like that. So it's just there to what's the word? Reaffirm that it is not our fault that we have it. It is genetic. For me, it's not something that explicitly ran in my family. But again, we live in the modern age. I didn't know most of I didn't know. Most of my grandparents died before the age of 7. My grandma died before I was born, and I know that she sometimes apparently showed stuff that people describe as like the symptoms of PCOS, or like so I'm like, maybe it does run in my family, but my mum doesn't experience it, and if my dad carries the gene, then cheers chisel that, Dad. But it's not something that is necessarily passed down, even though it's genetic. Do you know what? Again, who knows? But it is a genetic illness. I'm just reading off here because I remember what I'm talking about and I don't lead you astray. So yes, there's three symptoms of PCOS that make you diagnosable, and you have to have at least 2 of them out of the 3. See what I mean? It's like a kind of like fruit game, like a really shit Vegas fruit game. So the first one is irregular periods, excess androgen, and then polycystic ovaries. So excess androgen basically means that you have more testosterone in your body and you are showing male patterns of things. We'll get into that later. And the third one is polycystic ovaries. So you literally have a scan and there are like cysts on your ovaries. Boring, but true. And again, that's more complicated. They're not always cysts. It's like bags. I'll leave the links below. But for the purposes of this video, cysts on your ovaries, for those of you who don't know about it. So it also gives you loads of issues with insulin. So insulin, for the uninitiated, controls blood sugars in the body. That's literally it. And it's linked to like your hormones in lots of different ways. Again, not a scientist, English graduate. So it basically, if you have PCOS, it means that your insulin levels are off in some way. You can be insulin resistant, which basically means like your body isn't absorbing the insulin and then it panics and it overcreates insulin, which creates even more problems. Most people who have PCOS are just by its nature pre-diabetic. I'm pre-diabetic. That doesn't mean that I have diabetes. Doesn't even really mean that I'm in the realm of having diabetes. I had a blood test recently and they were like, no, you're fine. But it just means that for the rest of your life, you will be like in danger of getting it. Something that's you should be really aware of, getting type 2 diabetes if you have this. It can also affect weight gain, my fave. We'll get into that one later. Hair thickening and hair loss, irregular periods, oily skin and acne, and also infertility. So those are some of the things we're going to be covering in this video. If you feel particularly sensitive about those kind of topics right now, then this is your time to bow out. But just a heads up, those are the things we're going to be talking about. So 1 in 10 women in the UK have it. I don't know what the global stats are. I have also heard the number like 1 in 4 batted around a lot. But what I do know is that it's a lot of women. See, I've done it again. These are the stats that I'm given, 1 in 10 women. I imagine people who do not identify as women also have it, but here are the heteronormative science stats that we are given. My diagnosis / journey. A few people in the questions did call it a journey, and I really enjoy that because it makes me feel like I am a contestant on the X Factor, which I thought was in my future for a long time, and it still could be. I think I could come out in my 50s with an incredible voice, but anyway, what am I talking about? Okay, stop procrastinating, Lena. Talk about the serious shit. Okay, right, so yes, some of the symptoms that I had that made me go to the doctor was that I had very, very, very painful, incredibly irregular periods from the beginning of periods, the dawn of my bleeding. And that's why I went to the doctor. I was quite young. I was 14, 15. A lot of people tend to be diagnosed with PCOS in their 30s or 40s and a lot later in their life, which means that when I was diagnosed, I didn't know anybody who had it. I felt like it was like pretty scary and all my friends thought it was really weird. Well, not weird, but you know what I mean? They hadn't heard of it. But yeah, basically most people find out when they're older. So now I feel like I know loads of people with PCOS and there's a whole team of us. But at the time, nada, no one. So the symptoms out of the things that I experience after he listed them, I was like, yes, I have all of those. The symptoms that I experience are all of them, apart from the oily skin, which, I mean, thank you, skin gods, but I don't particularly struggle with my skin at all. I've had a lot on my plate in the last 31 years, but I'm really lucky in that my skin hasn't been one of them. Everything else I have experienced, and it has been real annoying. Again, we'll get into this as well, like not as annoying as so many illnesses, and not really to the point where it has, I don't know, permanently changed the course of my life, or like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to overplay what I feel about it, but then when I look at these notes and I actually sit down to talk to you about it, and I imagine any of you, like, I just imagine people out there watching this and experiencing what I experienced, it makes me a little bit teary, because I'm like, are you okay? It's going to be I promise it's not that bad. Like, you know, I do feel emotional about it, just because I know it's something that affects so many people and is like real irritating. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to come across in this video like I'm like distraught about it, or that it's something that like interferes in my life, or I consider myself like, I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but basically I feel emotional about the topic because I just think it's something that should have more research done into it. I think it's something that people shouldn't have to struggle with as much as they do. Some of this is like so under researched. I don't know if you've read the book Invisible Women. I've read parts of it by Caroline Criado Perez. The parts that I've read are incredible, and she does a lot of research around like how ovaries and reproductive systems just aren't a priority for funding or like any real kind of education. So you might even find that your GP doesn't know like an incredible amount about it, which again is frustrating because 1 in 10 women, and probably lots of other people. Yeah, anyway, so I think it also just annoys me on that level. This video is going to be really long, isn't it? That's fine. You know, if this is like an hour-long podcast about PCOS, I'm okay with that, because I'm imagining not everybody is going to watch this, but the people that are going to watch it, like, I'm going to give you the whole shebang. So when I was diagnosed, I had a ultrasound. Oh my God. If you go on an ultrasound, they make you like drink loads of water, and then they press down on your bladder, and you have to like lie on this like waterproof bed. Like they've got like plastic all around it. And I sat on the bed like, why is there plastic on this bed? Like how weird. And then they started doing the ultrasound, and I was immediately like, oh, people piss themselves while this happens, don't they? Yet people wee themselves during this because you have to drink loads of water before you do it, and then they just press down on your uterus really hard. Anyway, so I had an ultrasound, and I think I had some blood tests as well. They tested me for diabetes, which involved drinking a fuck ton of Lucozade and then sitting there for like 3 hours in a waiting room with loads of other people who had just drank loads of Lucozade. Wild. And then we all had to pee. So yeah, I had that, and, you know, various other things. The most frustrating part of the diagnosis process for me was the fact that the doctor just sat me down and was like, you are fat. You are very, very fat. Those were the exact words. I remember them because I went into the car afterwards and cried as a 15-year-old. And that was the one part of this whole experience that I was like, could you just not have? Could you not have? Also, could I just not have had a male doctor in general? But like, oh my God, like why? And there's loads of nuances to that I'll get into. And I understand that from his understanding of what I needed to know, that was part of the conversation, but it didn't need to be the top line. And it definitely didn't need to be said like that. But I know a lot of people that have experienced that, and it's very annoying. By the way, I've just got a new tattoo, and I'm not trying to like show it off to you. I got it yesterday, and it's breathing, and I don't want to like have anything like any fabric on it. So I hope it looks cool, but that wasn't the point of it. Anyway, focus, Lena, focus. Somebody asked, did you go through a grieving process after the diagnosis, or was it a relief to know what was what? Obviously, it's not ideal to find out that you've got an incurable illness. Would have preferred a curable one, but it wasn't a huge deal. We'll get into the infertility thing later, but it was a really weird moment for me because one of the symptoms is that you may be infertile. It doesn't necessarily mean you will be. I want to say that as well. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be, but it was something that was talked about and they really felt like they were like breaking it to me. And I was like, I thought they were going to tell me I had like cancer or something, because they were really like, and you might not be able to have children. And I was like, oh, okay. And I went back to the car after they told me that, and I just felt really like, I think this is one of those moments where I should probably feel something really big and I don't. And that was part of my journey, hashtag journey, into realizing that I didn't really want kids, and that was fine, which is a story for another day. But it definitely influenced how I thought about kids, and how I realized in general how we are socialized to believe that having children will be natural and easy and everybody will get a chance to, which really isn't the case. And is like, it's just an interesting thing that you're always as like a young person, a young woman in particular, I think there's lots of stuff that's like, when you have children, or like, what do you think about, your children growing up to be in this world? Or like, and they always say it in a way that's like, you will have children, obviously you will have children, or obviously you will get the chance to have biological children. And I don't think that that's great. I think that we need to be more honest with like how hard that can be for so many people, and setting that up as like an automatic expectation. And if your body can't do it, then there's like a big failure for you. That's a bit fucked up. But I feel like that was more of a revelation to do with like how society views pregnancy. How I felt about it was like slightly relieved. So that was interesting as a 15-year-old to think about. So what did they prescribe you is the next question. What didn't they prescribe me? So I think there's a really important conversation here to be had around like the role of doctors and what they want to solve for you, and what is like what your choices are as a patient. So obviously I don't begrudge doctors. The point of doctors' role in your life is to listen to like what symptoms are affecting you the most, which ones for you aren't negotiable, and like give you solutions to those symptoms. However, that becomes really complicated when it comes to things that are like really complicated when it comes to the gender spectrum and like what we deem as unacceptable for women. And what I mean to say is, the three things that I was prescribed was Dianette, electrolysis, and weight loss. So let's start with Dianette. No, let's start with electrolysis, because that makes the most sense to what I was just saying. Let's talk about electrolysis. Electrolysis is an incredibly expensive cosmetic procedure that is when they put hot needles in your skin, basically. They put hot needles in the follicles of your skin. It goes much... I don't know if it goes deeper, but it goes to the root of your follicle. I was going to say it goes deeper than a tattoo, but I don't know. What I can say as somebody who has like 5 tattoos is like, it's about 20 times more painful than a tattoo, like 20 times at least. Like usually the sessions are only about 10 minutes long, because most people can't stand more than 10 minutes. Like the woman who used to do me was like saying, she was like, grown men like cry on the table, and like it's just like quite traumatic. And so that was something that was prescribed to me for the hair. So the hair is probably one of the most annoying parts of it for me. I wouldn't say it's like that upsetting anymore, but it has definitely been the most consistently annoying. The way I experience it is I have very coarse hair, but again, what's normal? So let's just leave the word normal at the door, but more than you might expect or have seen on me at any time. Yeah, really coarse hair that, like, what's interesting is like when my boyfriend Craig will like shave with a razor and it will last him like a month or two. When I shave with a razor, as we realised with the Imi video, me and Imi were talking about razors, I'll link that up here. When I shave, like it blunts every razor. So I can only use like a blade like twice probably before it just KOs, and it's like, no more. I'm claiming workers' rights. I can't work under these conditions. So I have thicker hair on my arms and legs, like pretty thick. And like to the point where there's like a line. And then also I get hair on my hands and I get hair on my boobs. I get hair on my belly. I had like a snail trail from the age of like 12, which didn't make me feel very good, and a lot on my face, essentially, like a bit, like I could grow a whole bit, like a I don't want to say like a whole beard, but I could definitely grow like enough of a beard that like I don't know, like, the kind of beards that like most cis guys can grow from the age of like 17 to 25, like, before they are able to grow like a full beard. I just need to stop saying the word beard. But anyway, and that was distressing when I was younger, because I didn't really know how to remove it. It made me feel particularly masculine and shit about myself to shave like a boy would. So I just kind of left it, or I'd be really inexperienced and like I'd try to wax it and then I'd bruise myself, or I'd try to like use chemical stuff to like dissolve it, and then I'd get a rash, or like I'd leave it on for too long, and like I was 15, I didn't know what I was doing. And then like some people at school, like there was a boy at school, you know who you are if you're watching this video, you know, it's fine. I have more fun than you now anyway. Used to call me Pistachio, didn't appreciate that. Funny now in retrospect, but not really funny at the time. But, you know, you do get a bit of stick for that, and it makes you feel, when you're 15 and all you want to feel is desirable, it makes you feel shit. So, as a result of that, which wasn't a conversation with my doctor, nobody really ever asked me how I felt about the facial hair or if it was really affecting my life. They just automatically prescribed me electrolysis. So it was free on the NHS. It doesn't happen. I guess I was an extreme case, but like it was free for me, which was incredible. God bless the NHS. But a confusing experience, because I went to a lot of sessions and eventually had to quit because I'd just come out shaking, like I'd feel really traumatized for the rest of the day or a few days afterwards because it is so painful. And I realized that even at like, I think maybe I was more like, I want to say like 17, 18 when I was having that, I realized that I was like sending my body the signal that it was so unacceptable that I had to put it through all this pain to write it. And I knew that the hair wasn't something that actually caused me any pain or was in any way dangerous to me. So for me to put myself through all of that physical and emotional pain for something that, like, at the end of the day, nothing was wrong, even though medically you are told there is something wrong by having this huge expensive procedure prescribed to you, or being told that there's something wrong, you know, because it's a doctor, even though actually I think hair is a more socio-political issue. It was just, anyway, I wasn't thinking about it in as complex terms as that when I was like a teenager, but I definitely realized at some point that I was like, this isn't worth it. I'm sending my body a really bad signal, so I quit. Which means that if I ever do grow it back, I have a weird like kind of patch that is weirdly like kind of the shape of Iceland, where like nothing grows, but then everything else grows around it. Fun. Anyway, so that was the electrolysis. Yummy. But again, like some people, it really helps them, and I understand. And like, I think there's obviously a huge conversation around if it affects you so much emotionally that it is actually better for you to change it, then like absolutely have at it. From my experience, I think it was magnifying the turmoil rather than making it better for me. And I'm glad that I deconstructed the hair thing for myself, and I feel like I understand now more like how I feel about the hair and to what extent I'm willing to sacrifice for it. But yeah, and also the other thing that I was prescribed for the hair was Dianette, which is also supposed to regulate your periods. It is a contraceptive pill, which made me feel very saucy because I had not even kissed a boy and they put me on a contraceptive. And I was like, walking back from the chemist like, anyway. Yeah, so the Dianette was weird. I think that pills in general are under-researched. They fuck with women and other people who take contraceptive pills. They fuck with our heads. There needs to be more research. What the actual fuck? One of the things I was reading in the book Vagina by Naomi Wolf was about how actually it changes. It can, and again, look this up yourself. I'll leave the references. You do your own research. But there apparently is research to suggest that it changes who you're attracted to. So not only does it affect your mental health, and like I felt that there was a big fog that was lifted when I finally came off Dianette. Like mentally, a huge fog, mental fog. But also it affects maybe who you're attracted to. So like biologically, like who you like the smell of, like who you feel like viscerally feel attracted to. It can alter that, and I'm not saying that that's true. And I did only read about this after this happened, so it wasn't placebo. But I was on Dianette for 6 years, and as soon as I came off it, I mean, 3 months later, I broke up with the man I was engaged to, and I was no longer attracted to him. So I'm just giving you an anecdotal, that is not even a fact, that is just a factodote. But I have mixed feelings about putting people on pills that we don't know loads about. And I have been on loads of different contraceptive pills, none of which have particularly agreed with me. And I don't think that's an unusual thing. So I don't regret the Dianette, and I understand why they put me on it. It was to reduce the hair. It was to regulate the periods. It was to hopefully deal with some of the pain. So thanks, but also because I was switching between doctors, nobody told me to take a break from it or come off it. So by the time I came off it, I was 6 years deep into it. I had been on it for that whole time, and my blood pressure was the same as a pregnant person's. So watch out for that. Please read the back of your packets and work out when you need to take a break from your pill if you're on one. The third one was weight loss. Obviously, they prescribe you weight loss when you have PCOS. The painful thing about that was that I was so much thinner. I was so much slimmer than I am now when they prescribed weight loss. And when I look back at it, the smallest I have ever been was when I was 19 years old, and I was working in the desert, in the Nevada desert for AmeriCorps. And I was doing manual labor for 8 to 12 hours a day. Yeah. So I was drinking 4 liters of water. It was so hot. And I literally had a pickaxe, and it was like holes, man. I was doing manual labor in the desert. And that is how I got to a weight accidentally that they would have accepted on the BMI scale to say it was healthy. That is the only way that my body has ever been that weight. And that is actually in some ways incredibly comforting, because I'm like, so the only way that I can get to a weight that the NHS will deem appropriate, there's a whole thing about how BMI is bullshit that I will link to below. I have another rant for that, but we genuinely do not have time for that today, because this is already going to be about like 45 minutes. Yeah, something that's really distressing but comforting is that, like, lots of bodies aren't designed to fit within that dynamic, like literally, and I mean scientifically. So yeah, anecdotally, I don't feel like the weight that they wanted me to get down to was in any way realistic, and like looking back, actually did more damage than harm. If you go on loads of like yo-yo diets, or you like try and change your body too fast in a way that's not like appropriate for your body, you can change your weight set point. It actually ends up making you gain more weight in the long run, and then keeping you there for longer, which again, I read about in a book. I want to talk more about in another video, because it's just wild. But I think that the way they prescribed weight loss to me wasn't helpful. I'm not saying weight loss in general isn't in any way helpful for PCOS, and we'll get onto that later as well. That was, for me, not the right thing completely. You know, there's not much guidance on how you do it. Anyway, let's go through some of the symptoms and how I deal with them, because I had a lot of questions about that. So people were asking about irregular periods. I had them. I went on Dianette, regulated my periods. It did fuck with my head though, as we have discussed. Put a cloud around my romantic relationships, potentially. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of salacious. Like, is that true? I don't know. But it definitely gave me a mental fog, and I don't know. I didn't really feel like I was really thinking clearly on it at all. Like, I feel like I don't know. Again, I was going through really formative years where you are confused in general, but as soon as I came off it, I felt so much clearer in who I was, what I was doing, what room I was in, what time was it, what day was it. Oh, I'm here. Cool. And then I've been on various coils. They didn't work for me. Again, mixed reviews from all people with wombs on coils. Jesus Christ. The ones I tried didn't work for me. And then now I have had the implant, although it has worn out because of the pandemic and I can't get an appointment to replace it. So that's fine. But I actually have an implant and it's worked really well for me. If you are interested in which implant I have, I'm going to leave the name of it below, but please don't take that as medical advice. Again, you should ask your GP, but it really works genius for me, and it's just stopped all my periods, which I was really in support of, to be honest. Absolutely done with periods. Doesn't seem like there's too many side effects of not having them for a while. Obviously, we'll take breaks and have periods sometimes, but Jesus Christ, yes. So if you're interested, that's what I do. But I've also found that as I have had a healthier lifestyle, and I don't mean just losing weight, I mean exercising regularly, eating things that aren't beige sometimes, and just I actually genuinely think just getting older, like my periods have regulated more. I don't have like 30-day cycles, but I do have what I would call semi-regular periods, and they are way less painful than they used to be, like so much less pain. And really the whole point for me about any of these treatments is to reduce pain. Like, so anyway, I don't know if that's because of my contraceptives or because of just getting old. I don't know. My gut visceral feeling is my body is just changing, and it's just not as painful. It's still more, again, we can't really compare like pain thresholds. Jesus Christ, have I been talking for 35 minutes? It's fine. We can't compare pain thresholds as womb holders, but I would say mine were really, really painful, and now I'd say they're like semi-painful. Like, I only really feel like when I have a really bad pain, it kind of feels like somebody is half-heartedly kicking me in the groin every like 20 minutes. Half-heartedly, like they don't really mean it, they've just been assigned to it. You know, whereas other kind of pain, I felt like somebody has got like a fish hook in me, you know what I mean? So anyway, how did we get here and where are we going? Anyway, hair gain, let's talk about that first. Obviously I had electrolysis, acidic creams, waxing. Would not recommend any of these. In fact, as like an incredible feminist who influenced some of my thinking very early on said, if you can, to tell whether it's sexism, just check if the men are doing it. And the men have hair on their faces, and when they want to remove them, they just shave. What? I felt like it was such a masculine thing that that I'd have to like shave my face every day and like put shaving cream on and then like shave it like you see in like the men in the Gillette adverts. But that's legit what I do. I shave most days now. Sometimes I'm too lazy, but I shave with like what is a man's razor, and I do it like that. And it's really good. And actually there's loads of stuff around like how shaving is good for your skin and like exfoliates it. That's why men in their like 40s, like a lot of their face actually looks quite young down here. It's because they've been exfoliating every day and then moisturizing it. So I've actually found no side effects of that. It's obviously a bit more annoying. And it's how I felt about my gender expression, I guess, while shaving like a man. But I've unpacked that now. Thanks to Craig, actually. Craig was really like, so why does this bother you so much? And I'm like, and he was like, why don't you just shave? And I was like, because I don't want to be like a man. And then now we like shave together like it is Shrek 2, and it's great. So I just shave my face, and I actually find it, I don't want to shove it in people's faces, but I will find opportunities to put it into conversation, because I think we should just normalise women shaving their faces if they want to, and also normalising them not shaving their faces, because so many women that you see in the street do have beards. We just have to take them off in various different painful ways. I don't think that's the thing. And I've found some like amazing social media influencers and people who don't shave at all, like this person, incredible. And that's also been really I don't know, inspiring feels a little bit patronizing, not inspiring. It's really opened my brain. Thank you for opening my brain with this kind of like beard activism, I guess, and it is really interesting to like see the shift socially. I again still take mine off because for me it's an aesthetic choice, and again, like, you can debate this about any kind of plastic surgery or like any way that you feminize yourself, like, you know, how much is it you, how much is society? For me, I'm just not there. I would like it to not be there, and but I'm not ashamed about like the fact that I take it off, and like talking about the fact that I take it off, and joking about the fact that I have a beard, and like that bit for me has been really healing. Okay, so hair loss. So basically you get more hair here as a man would, and which also means that you get what they call male pattern baldness, although I would like to dispute that term now, because like if 1 in 10 women are experiencing it and loads of other people are experiencing it, like, is it male pattern baldness? Can you claim that? So anyway, the danger is general hair thinning early on and back of your head thinning. So the ways that I actually have really noticed that in myself in the last like 5 years, I really felt like a lot of hair was going down the plug hole, and a lot of bad things were happening to me that I was like, oh God. And I don't want to lose my hair. It wouldn't be the worst thing if I lost my hair. Like I could rock the shave. I actually really think I could rock the shaved look, but I would like to prevent it for now because that's my choice. So what am I doing to prevent it? I stopped dyeing my hair, which is a great tragedy, not just for me, for the internet, because I know that you all really loved my pink hair and my orange hair and the bleach blonde hair and all of that. But I decided that I actually just wanted to keep my hair, so I've stopped dyeing my hair. Very sad about it. Even sadder to discover that it works, and actually my hair is way more healthy since I've stopped dyeing it, which is annoying. I was hoping that was an old wives' tale. No. I've started using natural shampoo. I've started washing my hair in a different way. Brad Mundo, thank you. There's actually a method of washing your hair that is better for it, and the way that we're taught to wash our hair can actually really damage it. So I'm going to leave that link to the video below because it taught me a lot, and I actually just wash my hair in a different way that means that I'm not pulling at it as much. Oh yeah, I also wear like a silk cap, a bonnet to bed, which has actually really helped as well, which I wasn't expecting, but I just read so many good reviews from people about it. And it if you think about it, you are pulling your hair around all night on a pillow, and that's like obviously not gonna like be nice for your hair, and then you have to brush it out every morning because it's all like tangled. Like, why did I do that? I don't know. Now I wear like I don't look that sexy. Oh, I mean, I think I do. Anyway, I wear a bonnet and I'm not ashamed. And also I do sometimes shade my scalp in, so it is actually kind of like quite thin up here, but I get like sometimes if I'm going out or like it's a fancy occasion, I like get a bit of like brown eyeshadow and like just give it a little shade, because sometimes it shows a bit if I don't wash my hair. But it's a kind of annoying because like to treat your hair better you should probably wash it less, but then if I wash it less it looks like I've lost more hair. It's catch-22. Speaking of catch-22s, let's talk about weight loss in general. This is something that I just kind of wanted to write down my thoughts on, because there are like parts of it that I don't want to share on the internet, and that's totally fine. But I don't want to ignore that as it's obviously one of the main issues with PCOS, so I do want to talk about it. It's just incredibly hard to talk about when you're talking about yourself versus making a universal statement, which again, from somebody who's been making videos on YouTube for 11 years, I know can be misconstrued very easily. And it's really complicated because it is a catch-22, because one of the symptoms of PCOS is like your body doesn't lose weight in the same way that everybody else's does. It actually stores weight ridiculously. Like, it's actually hilarious how fast my body stores weight. Like one of the things you're prescribed is weight loss, right? But the symptoms of your illness is that you can't lose weight. So it's really frustrating. And there are lots of resources about like specifically what affects weight loss as like somebody with PCOS, but at the same time we don't want to be fat phobic, and we don't want to like perpetuate myths about dieting and health that are just like literally inherently wrong. So there's a whole podcast that I listen to that's really interesting on this topic, that again I'll leave those links below. Because a lot of like what we're told about weight loss is just like mind blow, like in the same way that we've been brainwashed to think that like meat should be like a great part of our diet and it's really good for us. Like it's the kind of the same with weight loss. Like so much of it is complete bullshit. Yeah, it's complicated to talk to people about weight loss and PCOS because like some of the symptoms can be alleviated with it, and I have experienced that. And that's hard to talk about because I don't want to tell people that like actually one of the ways that I treat my PCOS is that I lost some weight, because I know that some of you are going to be younger than me or more impressionable, and you're going to feel like you need to lose weight, which is in literally the opposite of what I'm saying. But it's just complicated because like when you implement lifestyle changes, they are going to make you mentally feel better and physically feel better a lot of the time if they're moderate, measured, science-based and gradual. It's like this low glycemic index thing that always gets me, and there's stuff about insulin as well and insulin resistance. But as somebody who isn't a scientist, it's not something that I want to like advise you on, but I do want to recognize it's one of the ways that we're told to do stuff. And it's also just like having fat tissue does scientifically, I want to say this so I say it right, fat tissue does increase insulin resistance. So if you're already incredibly insulin resistant, fat tissue will magnify that. And that's complicated to think about, right? Because I don't want to believe that. And it also, like, if you have fat tissue, you're more likely to experience like high levels of testosterone. Again, links below. Please prove me wrong, because I hate this seems to be very true. But I think like with weight loss, like obviously I have tried to eat healthier, but also tried to mentally protect myself from the idea that I'm eating healthier just to lose weight. I'm eating healthier to improve my internal organs and make sure that I'm okay, and that I, you know, live to an old ripe age and get to experience life, not because I want to visually look different. And that mindfuck will probably keep bothering me for the rest of time, but I am getting better at it. And I think also like there's something really complicated from a feminist perspective to talk about weight loss, because like where does it go? Is it like who is mourning it? But it's like I find the line between like as a feminist actively planning and choosing in a like calm, self-accepting, neutral way like what I'm gonna eat, not in a really restrictive way, in a way that like if I break the rules I get told off, or like something really bad happens to me, but just in a way that I like plan out more what I'm gonna eat. That to some people counts as like I was on a diet. I just find that is coming from one perspective, and I again like it's really complicated to talk about, but like with the body positive movement, which again wasn't set up for me, shouldn't center me, and is there to tackle something that is like way more systemic and way more serious than like me, a white thin passing woman who like feels a little bit, you know, not pretty sometimes, you know. That's not what that movement is for. It's not there to make me feel better specifically, because I'm not somebody who experiences a lot of visual discrimination from how I look, so I recognize that. But a lot of the body positive influencers I see talking about slogans that are supposed to counteract bad body image, that are actually about people who have struggled with anorexia before, so they've struggled with restrictive eating, so they're like, eat the donut, have the thing, blah blah blah. And restrictive eating is the opposite of what I have struggled with when it comes to eating behaviors. So a lot of body positive methods and like messaging around feeling good in yourself and like eating in a more mentally healthy way don't help me, because they encourage me to eat when I'm not hungry, eat more. And really learning more about the intuitive eating movement has really helped me. Basically, I don't know how I feel about the connections with PCOS and weight loss. And I hesitate greatly and will not be sharing everything I've experienced with weight loss and PCOS, because I know how damaging it can be to share a very specific experience like it is universal. And while I've seen some benefits from leading a healthier life, I guess like actually, okay, here's what I put when I was writing down my notes, because I was trying to work out what I want to say on it, because I don't want to share what I did or how much I lost or how much I gained after I lost. But what I've written here is, you don't have to wait to be the perfect feminist to start putting what you would like into your body. And just like one man's meat is another man's poison, one woman's diet can be another woman's unlearning of overeating, compulsive out of control behavior, a salvation. So I just think that only you will be able to work out what you are eating and for what reasons. And that is just something that is incredibly complicated. I'm going to leave some links to stuff that I am using to unlearn and relearn what I think about that. And I won't be answering any questions in the description about like what I did or how I lost weight, because I'm not about to share that with you, because for obvious reasons I don't know the long-term implications of what I choose to do, because I am not a 60-year-old woman with the foresight and like benefit of knowledge of what that has done for me mentally or physically in the long term. My inkling is it's really helped, but without any stats that indicate that that is true universally, it would be irresponsible for me to share that. Does that make any sense? I think that's kind of what I want to say. And also that just like, no, I think that is all I want to say. As you can tell, I find it really complicated to talk about. And I feel like whenever I have shared the fact that I am changing what I eat sometimes, and I'm doing it in a way that I'm like, it's really healthy, and I'm also not volunteering the information for people who may not want to hear it or may not want to talk about diets. But when it has come up against my will, or like, and people have been like, oh, well, you know, that's a shame because you're a feminist on the internet. And like, that's the kind of stuff that really not hurts, but it's just like, this term influencer can be helpful in some ways, but for me, I don't think it's very helpful because I don't want to feel that every personal choice I make has to be universal to the point where it must benefit others, and if it were to influence them. I think that choosing what you put in your body, as long as you know it's for you, is an incredibly feminist act, but not everybody feels that way. And that's okay. We're allowed to disagree, and we're allowed to privately do our own thing with our bodies, as long as we don't make out that we have the answers or that we know what's universally good for everyone. And on that note, wild card questions that I've got, just to round this off. These are ones that I have like some notes on, but I'm just gonna like, you know, I thought they were interesting questions even if I am not able as one human to answer them. Do you see PCOS as an intersex condition? No, but that is an interesting question. I don't think it is an intersex condition. I think it is a condition that interrogates what we mean by sex and gender at all. It's a condition that prohibits a lot of cis women from experiencing what would be stereotypically biologically female, which again needs unpicking. And you know what, actually, I didn't touch on the fertility thing because for me it doesn't bother me that much, but I do think it is it's one of the biggest parts of what upsets most people about getting PCOS. So I just want to address it and say, like, if you're struggling with that, like, I'm so sorry, and I know it. I do know how hard it is. A lot of my friends have experienced like difficulties getting pregnant and incredibly heartbreaking things, and I know that it's something that you deserve more. You deserve more research, you deserve more conversations, you deserve more openness and more funding to find out like how infertility can be avoided for people who would like to procreate on this strange burning planet. You have my like best wishes with that, and like I want to stick up for you when it comes to that because I think it is important. Having said that, I have joined a lot of PCOS Facebook groups that I would warn people off doing if they have PCOS, because most of these PCOS Facebook groups are discussions about infertility, and they can be incredibly upsetting, and it can also distort your idea of how possible it is to get pregnant if you have PCOS, which is, it's still really possible. You just need to plan a bit more. And from what I've read, it is like, in most cases, like, it's something that happens for a lot of people who have PCOS. But the groups, obviously by their self-selecting nature of people who need support and are struggling the most with PCOS, are people who have lost an incredible amount of pregnancies. And all of those are, you know, for them very, very painful. And so you get a distorted idea of PCOS and what people go through from those groups, because obviously the people who lose the most pregnancies are talking about them. And it is really hard because you'll see, like, and again, I've already said at the beginning of the video, we're going to talk about infertility, but we're just going to talk about it a bit more if you want to skip ahead. Like posts where it's like, post a green heart for every child that's lost and a red one for like every child that's still in the world, and like everyone will comment and be like, green heart, green heart, green heart, green heart, green heart, green heart, red heart, green heart, green heart, green heart. And so, you know, so people are losing a pregnancy at loads of different stages, and you know, everyone is a heartbreak for them, and it can be incredibly grueling. What am I trying to say about this? I guess that it's a shit part of PCOS, and I'm sorry I'm not covering it more in this video because this is about my experience, and it's not something I don't plan to be pregnant. It's not planned for me. Oh God, if you want to read a book about that's really good, like, and you haven't heard of it, me talk about it before, like, there's a book called Motherhood by Shelia Heti, which is about the complicated feelings of wanting to have children or not wanting to have children. And it really sorted my head out about a lot of the feelings I had about having children that I felt were like weird or wrong. I'm going to leave that in the description too. This description is getting full. So yeah, that's what I want to say about infertility. What were we talking about? We weren't talking about it at all. We were talking about like gender non-conforming things about PCOS. I have a friend that is doing electrolysis now who is trans, and she's doing it for different reasons to what I was doing it for, and I really sympathize with her because it's like really painful. So there are like weird medical crossovers where you'll have like similar procedures. So I guess that's where that question might come from. But I don't consider it an intersex condition. But I do think it interrogates gender in a way that I wasn't expecting when I was 15. And they were like, you've got PCOS. That's why you're like basically a man. And I was like, what? You know, and it's, you know, it's silly because you're made as a teenager to feel like you should be doing your gender the most. And if you're not, then like you're failing. And that's just like so not the case. And but it also doesn't mean like as a cis woman that I experience anything that confusing about my gender or sex, because my identity and my sex isn't dependent on how ill or well my body is, or like if I have a condition, or like, you know, so I don't know. But another thing that's really good to think about this is like my friend Hannah did a video about how cis people should think more about gender in general, and I'll leave that below, because I think for people with PCOS, I hope it's an encouragement to think more about like what parts of our sex and gender are constructed, and where the binary is when it comes to medical stuff, and like how wide medical definitions of things are really when we get down to them, and how restrictive they have been in the past. I don't know if that made any sense. Anyway, it also like interesting crossovers is like I've been using some makeup from Jecca Black, who specifically usually make makeup for people who are trans, because they've got loads of makeup that is specifically to hide beard shadow and stuff like that. So I've been watching some of the tutorials on the Jecca Black website, and yeah, there are like, again, like crossover in that like people who have 4 o'clock shadows every day and want to hide that. So yeah, I guess there are, like I said, there are crossovers. We spent too long on that question. I'm a single gal dating, not me, this is the question that somebody's asking. I'm a single gal dating. I don't know if or when I should bring this up as it affects fertility. And I've written, this isn't The Handmaid's Tale. Your fertility shouldn't be a factor. You're not a con artist if you have PCOS and you don't tell the person that you're dating, because at the end of the day, 1 in 10, baby. Good luck finding some, like, and again, like, it's not, that's just like people with PCOS, like loads of women struggle with fertility for loads of reasons. If you're like a cis man who wants to be with a woman and you are expecting them to be automatically fertile, are you drunk? So like, I don't think you should have to disclose it. Obviously, if it's something that you struggle with and it's something that you want to talk about and you feel like is a really big part of your experience right now as a human on this spinning earth, you should definitely talk to them about it. You shouldn't be ashamed to talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's not like a I am definitely infertile kind of statement, which I guess could be disclosed at some point, because it is important if somebody like is so set on having kids, like that it's like the only thing that they could ever want from life. It's good to disclose at some point, but you are not your fertility, and it would be weird if we were required to disclose all of our bodily illnesses while dating. You know what I mean? Let's not build that world. I don't accept it. Okay, so I was just going to tell you some things I wish I'd known. Using a moon cup is cool if you suffer with PCOS, if you can get it in, because you can measure how much blood that you are bleeding. So I've found, and because I had like excessive bleeding when I had periods and they were really painful, I found that if you ring up your GP and instead of saying, I'm bleeding a lot this month, doctor, you say, I've been losing 40 millilitres every 5 hours, doctor. They take you way more seriously, and they're scared that you can measure it. They don't really understand how you did it. But if you have heavy blood loss from periods, then a moon cup is like incredibly helpful when you're navigating the medical sphere. Why? I wish I'd known for my body that it does get better as you get older. I have experienced that the symptoms and the woe have decreased. Again, not going to be the case for everybody, but I was told that by several doctors, that it may decrease as I get older. And for me, the pain has. The hair's got way worse. The weight gain won't end. But the pain is way like less. And when I was experiencing really bad pain, I would have loved to have heard that there was a possibility that it could lessen. I also have written here, no one's body works like a machine. I think that's something that I wish I'd known, and I think becomes even clearer if you walk more into the world of like discussions on the internet about ableism. Most people's bodies have some quirk about them where things don't work quite right. Again, a phrase that needs to be interrogated. But like there is no universe in which you wouldn't have had anything difficult with your body. Everybody experiences something with their body that's quirky, doesn't work quite how we thought the plan was going to go, you know? So my one is PCOS, and I think I'd take it again, you know? Given the choice of different quirks and things to deal with on a day-to-day basis, PCOS it's not the bitch that I thought it would be. And I actually don't, in some ways it's like I want to talk about all the emotional stuff that I've gone through with PCOS, my journey, but I also don't want to overplay its hold on my life, because at this point all the stuff that mentally I've had to work through to get here healthily is like good. Have done a lot of that, and a lot of the medical stuff like has either been alleviated or I've just like negotiated with my body in a way that it like generally works okay now. It doesn't feel like something that really gets in the way of my life. I wonder if that gets better or worse when you get to menopause. I guess we'll find out. Shaving doesn't make your hair thicker. Again, massive myth. What the hell? I guess it's because you blunt a hair when you shave it so that when it grows back it feels like it's thicker, but it's not actually thicker. You can shave any part of your body and it won't grow back thicker. That's so silly. That's not a thing. Like it's not a thing, but it is a huge old wives' tale. It's a reason that I didn't shave in like places that would have empowered me and made me feel better to shave in, because I believe that was true. Oh yeah, there was just one last question I wanted to answer. Is it always shit, or is it just sometimes shit? It's just sometimes shit. Like I said, it's not a great illness, but it's mine. And you know, like I said, like I've got loads of people closer to me that have like stuff that's really, really affecting them in a way that's like really hard. And I feel incredibly grateful that I have one that makes me experience minor pain and discomfort and like more societal failings than anything. So yeah, let's all take a breath. That was a very long video. Thank you so much for sticking around for it. I'm guessing if you're at the end, you either have a weird morbid fascination with other people's symptoms and illnesses, which I support. I think more people should know. So well done. If you don't have PCOS and you've stuck around to the end, enjoy. I hope you feel more equipped to talk to people about it, or if you have people in your life who have it, more equipped to talk to them, or you're here because you are somebody who experiences it, and sorry about that. Piece of shit, isn't it? It's not, you know, I don't know, but you're in a bigger club than you realize. Like, so many people experience it, and the more you dig, the more information there is, and the more examples of experiences and the many ways people experience PCOS there are, which is another reason why I think the internet's kind of great. There's a video about that up here. Oh, segue. If you like this video, oh god, I'm so natural in it now. You might like this video or this video. You might want to subscribe so you can stick around again. You might want to hang out in the comments so we can all have a little chat about illnesses, gender, things that confuse us, things that we want to talk about. But I really appreciate you sticking around. These videos are made possible by the Gumption Club. I like them a lot. Frogs dug out!